Hi, I'm Dennis Fisher. Welcome to another Lab Matters webcast from Kaspersky Lab. And today I'm with my colleague Tim Armstrong from our US office, and we're going to be talking a little bit about the current wave of data breaches and high-profile attacks on a lot of companies that we've all heard of, and kind of talk about what's driving this and what it means for security in general. So, Tim, there's been a lot of attacks probably over the last maybe 12 to 14 months. Maybe we can go back to the Google Aurora attacks, the attack on RSA, the breaches of Sony, a few others. What do you think is driving these? Is it a matter of there's more attacks now, or it's just that we're hearing about more of them now?
It's probably a little of both. Definitely the publicity attached to these attacks has grown a lot. So, and there's kind of a fashionability, I guess, to the attacks that, right. Groups like LulzSec coming out very publicly about what they're doing and who they're hacking, and that probably adds in some sort of glamour to it, and the whole hacktivism movement has kind of gotten behind it as well. So maybe people that were just on the edge of being kind of gray hat are now jumping in more than they would have in the past. So really a combination of factors.
And we're seeing some of these companies being forced into, not just disclosures by, the breach laws in the US that we have, but, sort of by public pressure from, their customers, from security researchers, that sort of thing. And it's turning into a sort of an embarrassing situation for a lot of these companies that are not responding well. Do you think some of the other corporations are kind of looking at them and hopefully learning some lessons and saying, okay, here's how not to respond to a breach? Maybe we should develop some sort of plan as to what happens, not if, but when we get attacked.
Yeah, well, I mean, I hope so. It's really hard to say. In the short term, I would say it doesn't seem like there's much of a reaction. There's, there seems to be kind of a general idea of, well, it won't happen to me.
Which is a huge mistake.
Right, and I mean, there's a pretty large expense that comes with, having a good protection plan, having a complete disaster recovery plan, and a lot of companies maybe don't understand that at a top level.
Right. And
so they don't really put the money behind it or the effort behind it to get all of those things in order, before something chaotic happens, and then they have all the expensive PR and everything, which is, on the backside of it is a lot more expensive anyway.
Yeah, it is. It's really difficult, especially it can be expensive with hard costs, reputation loss, anger from your customers, yep. All of that sort of thing. So, one interesting factor I think is that this current wave of breaches seems to be getting squished in with the whole APT discussion. Mm-hmm. And I think they're two separate things. There's an APT problem, which is, a very high level problem, mm-hmm. defense contractor, government type problem.
Targeted attacks, yeah.
Certainly. RSA, I think we can put into that category, I would imagine. But things like what's happening to Sony, I don't think belong in that discussion. So, I mean, the mass malware problem is still more of a threat to most enterprises than, the highly skilled targeted attacker at this point, right?
Yeah, I would say so. But there again, nobody wants to come out and say, we were hacked by a completely unsophisticated, basic attack. Yes. Because we didn't take even the most minimal steps to, secure our multi-million customer-sized database.
Right.
So everybody is, definitely from a PR perspective, comes out and says, oh, it was a very sophisticated, advanced attack. APT has enough recognition now within, the larger part of the industry that, people recognize the acronym. So, right. You throw that out there and you were doing everything you could, but they used APT, what could you do? And it's really not the case, especially in the case of Sony, where they've been hacked so many times, and in multiple cases, things as delicate as passwords were just kept in clear text.
Right, and these were SQL injection attacks in a lot of cases, which are pretty basic things that we've known about for 15 years.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And some basic practices that have been, were talked about in the 1980s, yeah. Haven't even been, implemented. So it was really more of a when issue and not a how.
It's kind of a depressing picture if you sort of look at it as a whole, you know, and think, okay, what does this say about the state of corporate security right now? You know, it's been, say, 20 years that we've been focusing on a lot of these same problems. Doesn't seem like we made all that much progress. I mean, where do you come down on how much progress we've made, and you know how far we have to go?
Well, I mean, when a company like, you know, like RSA, for example, gets hacked, even if it is, you know, a complex threat, it sends a pretty, you know, scary reminder or should send a pretty scary reminder to the rest of the community that, you know, you're never doing enough. So, you know, and I think it's a combination of factors too that have kind of led us to this, where the internet has grown really fast, really quickly. So much of the, you know, so much of our customer lives, I guess, has been virtualized and moved into, you know, onto the internet. And these companies, there's a lack of, I think, high-level education that these things are really, really necessary to deal with. You know, and it's really hard to put, you know, a security person in front of, you know, a high-level executive and have an intelligent conversation about why that money is important to spend. So I think until that really happens, you're not going to see much change. You know, and I think the only thing that's really going to drive that is, unfortunately, more and more large-scale breaches.
Well, the good news is we'll probably see more of those, so you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, Tim, thanks a lot. Thank you all for watching, and for more Lab Matters webcasts, you can check out our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Kaspersky.